Welcome to the Do You Believe podcast. Tonight we have on my sister, Brooke. Say hi, Brooke.
Oh my gosh, hi!
Couple things. We have a website. I don't think anybody goes to it, but it's doyoubelievepodcast.com. You can leave comments on the articles and the podcast episodes. We have an email request at doyoubelievepodcast.com if you want to request a particular topic. If anybody sends anything, it'll get talked about. I have 0 emails on that account. So, and then we have Twitter, Do You Believe Podcast, Facebook, and we're working on Instagram and Snapchat for the future. And this is our first time on Twitch, and then we'll be putting these on YouTube too. So that's all the business out of the way.
Ooh.
Brooke, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, all right. Okay, well, I've known Leland for about 25 years. He's my brother. And he brought me on the show because I love conspiracy theories so very much. And I also love health and nutrition. So I think in another life I would have been a nutritionalist. But combining those together is awesome because I can't help but feel like we're being lied to, and I just would love to talk about nutrition stuff with you guys. So without further ado, let's cue the theme song music.
Dun, 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 ba, ba, ba.
Good.
This is the theme music, but it's not really.
Good job.
Okay, so yeah. I think I'm going to let you drive most of this. I'm sure you have a million things you want to talk about. I've got some of my own basic research. Feel free to correct me if you think I'm wrong in any places. But yeah, I'll just kind of throw in what I've got. I have a friend at work from Bulgaria who majored in sports nutrition, and I talked to him today about his thoughts on a lot of things. So I'll also speak on his behalf since he'd be hard to understand. But yeah. Also, we have Carrie here too. She's being very
Carrie.
quiet.
Hi.
Carrie, feel free to jump into.
I just want to before we start, I am by no means nothing I'm about to say is these are based off facts that I found on the internet and conspiracies and stuff. I'm not, I don't know, I don't want to be yes, this is all right or this is all wrong. I'm not a nutritionalist by any means. But these are just things that I thought were really interesting. So, let's go ahead and start with the milk industry. Whenever I think of conspiracies with nutrition, I always am the Got Milk campaign. So, because it's just it was celebrity endorsed, it was heavily pushed on us, and so I looked into that and I was all right, milk has always been said to give us strong bones, calcium, potassium, and protein, but there's been studies to show that vegetables or other things can give us those as well, and that we don't actually need animal-based milk or dairy products at all. So some milk and dairy products could probably be good for the body, but it's not a necessity. And so the USDA dietary guidelines suggest that we need so many servings of it a day, which isn't necessarily true.
I know lots of people don't drink any milk.
Yeah, and it's totally fine. But that's something I was just well, why the heck have we always been pushing this on people? That, I mean, you know this, we grew up eating, I mean, you see the Got Milk campaign, and then cereal or breakfast commercials that are oh, well, balanced diet, and it's milk, sugary cereals, stuff like that. So so I looked into it, and apparently kind of the boom of dairy and milk and stuff, and it was apparently in World War I, there was a high demand for canned and powdered milk to go overseas to help the army with malnutrition and kind of help the army. And so farms in America accommodated to that by producing more dairy products. But then when the war was over, they were left with so much dairy that they were what do we do with this? And so they basically created this dairy propaganda to get us to consume more of it because we just had so much. And so the government actually, they had like this bill or something they passed. They like started buying the dairy from the dairy industry and then distributing it to schools and the army and stuff like that. And then at some point they were like, no, this is too much. Like, we don't want to buy this anymore. But the like milk and dairy industry had made so much money that they like basically pay off the government now to basically like fund their, like, it's just, they just work together. So the government, who's in charge of our dietary guidelines for our country, are also working with these ad campaigns for the dairy company and other products that are bad for you. And the dairy industry is giving them millions of dollars, like politicians, right? Millions of dollars to protect them, and the dietary guidelines that come up for review every couple years so that they can be like, we need more milk in schools. Like, no, we don't. So it's just been pounded into our heads, but that it's good for our health. But it's kind of just a crock of crap. So now, but it's too late now because, well, cheese is delicious. And it's just kind of like, what do we do now? Like, it's all confusing and frustrating. So that's kind of like the backstory on that.
I saw a lot of, when I was researching some of the more conspiracy side of it, that seems to be a very common thing, that the what's good and bad for you cycles with what they're trying to boost supply and demand of at the time.
Yeah.
So you're saying milk was first. I didn't go back that far, but like in the 70s, it was corn and corn syrup, and then I think after that it was sugar, and then after that it was eggs. Saying like they're good or they're bad depending on.
It's just like looking at us as like consumers too, because that's even even it's all money and power. But even like later when we'll talk about some health stuff and medicine, like it's just consumerism, and things like, okay, yeah, maybe dairy or milk might be good for you in small doses, like whatever, but there's so many other bad side effects that come along with it, or things that we don't need, things that are hurting our bodies. So it's kind of like, I don't know. I could get on like a whole topic about that, and we'll keep moving along so I don't start my like soapbox side rant.
So one question about, you seem to be against the milk, is, and one of my if you're not drinking milk, what is the best source of calcium?
Oh my gosh. So, okay, let me start here. So I've been listening to a podcast recently called The Ultimate Health Podcast, and it's flippin' awesome. And if any of you guys want to know more about nutrition and health and like alternatives to stuff, great podcast to listen to. But like really good sources of like calcium, potassium, protein, other things come from like vegetables. So like your leafy greens, you got like quinoa, I think sweet potatoes have good potassium. So it's like really good, like think like leafy green vegetables give you calcium, stuff like that. Yeah, fruits and vegetables really you can get, if not more, than milk will give you. And that's something else that's funny too, is milk is what they say like helps with fractures. That's not true from what I've seen. Like, I guess there's been studies shown that that doesn't really do anything either. Like, it's really been pushed in our heads. I don't know. I'm not like against the milk dairy industry. I just kind of am like it doesn't need to be as big as it is, I guess.
Yeah. And I was talking to Bobby about milk, and he said he's very confused when he moved here to this country, like with milk that you buy from the shelves, they take all like the actual good stuff out of it. That's what he was saying. He's like, he saw skim milk for the first time. He's like, what? Like, that's why you would drink milk, was for the fat content of it, right? That's what they did in his homeland. But instead you got skim milk, which he says is like, I don't know. He says they take all the good stuff out and make other stuff with it, and they're making twice as much money because they're doing that. Yeah. But we've grown up with that, so we have no idea.
Yeah. And it's not bad by any means. Like, well, it's not super bad. So like my friend Sarah, like I think she drinks like whole milk. Like, we've always kind of talked like, if you drink like skim milk, they've got like sugar and stuff in them. Yeah. If you're doing like low fat or fat free stuff. It's probably got artificial sweeteners in it. Like, if you're gonna drink milk, drink it at its wholest, from a good source, from like a good farm cow.
Right. That
like
plays
good whole milk.
that plays a big role.
And that's different. Based on the fact if you don't have allergies to it, like, can be good for you. But, like, it's not, I don't think that it should be our primary source for calcium or potassium or protein. Like, I think that we can get that from other things.
Yeah.
And then it's pumped full of hormones and stuff, too. It's just, I don't know.
So that's the reason why I thought this podcast would be really good is because I think we're polar opposites in terms of what we think is good and bad for you. I think, because I think you're on the
So you and me.
Yeah, you're on the vegetable vegan side, and I've been on I've been on the keto meat side recently, right? Experimenting with that. So I think this will add a good contrast to it, and I think, I think you're right. Now, the biggest problem with almost everything that's not, like organic and special is all the crap that they put in it, right?
Oh, yeah.
So if you, like, and all the diets that I saw for, like, my side says milk is good, but you have to get raw milk, like real milk from real cows.
Yeah.
The stuff, I was surprised. I went to the store, and I'm like, okay, I can pretty much eat, all meat and dairy I want. So I walk over to get the milk, and there's sugar in it, and I'm like, what? Okay,
There's sugar in everything.
Because that's the big thing is, like, mine is, like, no carb, right? And sugars count as carbs. So, like, everything I'm picking up has sugar in it that you wouldn't think shouldn't have sugar, right?
Yeah.
So I have to try and find, like, the natural cheese, the natural milk, all that stuff, because
which is
put
good
it in
anyway.
everything.
I mean, it's good. Yeah, but it's good for your body. Like, yeah, I mean, you'll have to listen to Ultimate Health Podcast. I really recommend it. But they talk about really, good alternatives to these things is that, I mean, some of this stuff can be really good for your body if you're getting, so like I'm kind of basing more on like paleo diet now. Like I like vegan, vegetarian, but I'm kind of more, you can eat meat and stuff and dairy. Just make sure that you're getting it from really good sources.
Yeah.
Maybe not dairy so much, but meat definitely, like grass-fed, organic, because it makes like a huge difference in your body and stuff. So, and even like milk. Well, I wouldn't say milk alternatives. Someone at lunch the other day was telling me this is hilarious, and they were saying that the milk industry was basically going to create this like patent or pass something that said that you couldn't consider things milk, right? Like almond milk, soy milk, whatever milk, if it didn't come from like a nipple. So like because it would be considered like a milk substitute, and people would buy that when in actuality it's like almond juice. It's not milk, but like they were getting, all bent out of shape because they were like, we should coin the word milk, as like a very specific. So I thought that was funny, but.
So to preface going further in the podcast, this is my just overarching opinion on diet is that there's more than one right answer.
Oh, yes.
And like a brief thing between the difference of our two, because you did the vegan diet. How long did you do that?
Oh, gosh.
Was that a month or?
It was
couple weeks?
A little bit less than a month. So I did kind of like a Whole30 kind of thing, which I don't know if you're familiar with that, but it's kind of like no legumes, no refined sugars, no dairy, no grains. So I had like meat, vegetables, fruit. And then for, I think 2 weeks out of that month, I ate straight vegan, no meat, which honestly, I mean, it's fine. But I don't know. Like, I'm with you on that kind of like, there's no right or wrong answer. Like you should, depending on your body, try things, and make sure they're of good quality and see kind of like how your body reacts to those things. Like, and I'm talking like good fats, good sugars, like from fruit, not, right. And see, cause maybe your body's fine with dairy if it's coming from a good source, but
yeah. And Bobby was saying just, there's so many variables when it comes to this. Like, there's some people eat certain foods better than others. They can digest it better. Genetics, all this stuff comes into play. So one of my goals of this podcast was to say, there's not one diet that works. People get And this is the mentality of the society. Like, they get behind a diet, and that's their team, and they root for their diet, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And you can't really do that, right?
No.
So I was kind of thinking through, these two diets are totally different, but they both seem to work. So why is that? And then mine is like, okay, so vegan side, you've got plants, fruits, and vegetables that give you your nutrients, and certain kinds of carbs that'll give you your energy that you need. And then on my side, we get the nutrients from the meat. Now, I don't know. This was kind of news to
quality meat.
Right. So this was kind of news to me. Bobby was like, okay, yeah, meat, you get, he was saying, now, I'm just saying what he said, but the meat we eat, let's assume the livestock is eating what they're supposed to, like actual good stuff, right?
Right.
When they eat all those nutrients and digest the plants, and then we eat it, we get the nutrients, right? But he was saying we can digest meat better than plants. So you might get more from meat, right? So I've never seen any studies on it, but this is coming from Bulgaria. So, but yeah, so we get our nutrients from the meat, but again, like you said, it has to be like good meat, or else if they're feeding the livestock garbage, then you're eating garbage, and you're going to get sick. So that's where we get our nutrients, and then our energy comes from fat. That's what our body burns for that. Again, it has to be good fat.
But yeah, kind of tying this into the whole podcast, though, is just kind of like, I don't want to say like everything we've known is a lie, but it's kind of like everything that you and I have been taught growing up, drinking milk, eating meat. Like, I was asking John when he came home from work, I'm like, do you know where your food came from today? Like, do you actually know? Because, like, that's kind of freaky if you think about, like, you've eaten all day and it could come from a factory. They could have eaten, like, I don't know, the worst things, these animals, and then we're eating them. It's just, the whole thing is a conspiracy in itself. It's just like, what are these lies?
What you've been told is what has been paid for.
Yeah, exactly. So, terrible. So, I'll go ahead and spiral into the next one then, which is, it's the same thing. So we're talking dairy milk industry, then we've got the sugar industry. And you'd think, right, from the 40s and 50s that we would have learned our lesson, but no.
Definitely not.
We have another thing that we're going to push on the market, and that's sugar. And they actually base a lot of their propaganda and stuff off the, the cigarette campaigns, right?
Yeah,
but they're
I saw this.
Oh, sugar, like it'll give you energy, it'll, all these things, suppress your appetite, and so made it seem like it was good or cool or whatever. But sugar actually causes like inflammation in the body, which causes disease. It's like a breeding ground for disease, on like a deeper cellular level. And then also, it's just like consuming empty calories, and incredibly addicting, but also like kind of tricking your body to think it's getting nutrition and minerals, but you're actually stripping it of it, and you're getting nothing, and it's spiking your blood sugar. Like, it's just a mess of problems, and it's in everything. When I did that Whole30, I couldn't eat any refined sugar, and I had a headache at some point, probably in the beginning when I was going off caffeine. Yeah. And I took a ibuprofen because I was like, oh, it's fine, I'll just take this, whatever. Looked on the back of the pill bottle, and it's got sugar in it. And I'm like, in ibuprofen? Like, oh my God, like it's in everything.
Yeah.
So yeah, but
I take like a multivitamin to make sure I'm getting what I need, and even though there's sugar in it.
Loaded with sugar. So, sugar in general is just like really acidic to the body. It, creates disease. It even like not in the inside, like on the outside, on aesthetic level, like it strips the enamel away from your teeth. It makes you look tired. It like makes your skin look bad. Like it's just it's a mess, and it's incredibly addictive. And we know this because everyone knows it. It triggers the good feelings in your brain, right?
Yeah.
And it makes your pleasure centers, and you keep coming back for more. And so when you've got these like propaganda posters for cheese, and then you've had cheese and it has sugar in it and all this stuff, and then you're just like, oh my God, this is so great. Taco Bell. But yeah. Oh, something else I learned too, that was really crazy was that sugar actually lowers your immune system. So it can lower it up to 5 hours. So if you drink like an energy drink or consume a lot of sugar up to 5 hours, you can get like sick. Like just like you're more susceptible to getting sick after like consuming sugar, which I was just like, oh my God, like no wonder everyone's getting the flu.
That's interesting because, throughout the flu season, for the most part, I was cutting way back, almost zero sugar. And I haven't gotten sick yet. So there might be some truth to that.
That's good.
And everyone around me had it. So I was just like, why am I not getting this? But yeah. So I'll mention that like I wrote like a small article on sugar to kind of go along with this. But like from the people that make this stuff, another thing about sugar is that it doesn't satisfy cravings. You don't feel full when you eat it.
Oh, yeah.
So you mix, you never feel full, and it's super addictive. Like
it's the best consumer product ever.
That's why I said it's a terrifying combination for us, but it's an amazing combination for the people that produce this stuff.
Yep. Oh
But
man.
yeah, the fact that they pushed sugar is crazy.
Oh, I know. Yeah, just seeing that, and you think well, they probably hadn't learned at that point. So that's what kind of happened is when they got blamed, right, for diabetes, cancer, all these things kept coming up. Which, by the way, whole conspiracies on that. People getting slandered, people getting with the milk industry and sugar industry. They'll come out with studies. Oh no, you're a quack! Like just completely ridiculous. So then finally, I mean, years after this. They're like, okay, all right, you're right. Sugar, it's not the best, thing. But like, what's really to blame is fat. So then they bring fat onto the scene, and they're like, fat makes you fat, right? And so we've always been like kind of taught that you just don't eat. And I mean, they're not wrong. Like bad fats are bad for you, but sugar really, really like is way worse than fat for you. And in terms of like good fat, like we need to be eating good fat. And now people are so confused with the word of fat that they're not consuming enough fat, right? Because they're like, well, I can only have this much fat a day. It's like, no, like you need to be eating avocados and coconut oil and nuts. Like, trust me, like good fat burns bad fat.
I remember.
So like,
like back before I started the keto diet, I was looking in. I was like, I'm just going to do, a diet that cuts out fat completely. That seems like a good idea, right? And then I went doing research, and I was like, no, that could almost kill me if I do that. So I was like, okay.
We need fat, yeah.
So fat's good. Now, wait a minute. That's not what I've been taught. And then that's when I started doing a bunch of research. And, fat got thrown under the bus when sugar came on the scene. They're just like, fat makes you fat. Sugar gives you energy. Sugar is the best. Do it.
Do it. Yeah. And then that takes you into, so then when that was questioned, then they come out in the scene with artificial sweeteners, right? And then they've got aspartame, this like neurotoxin. They've got all these terrible chemicals that they're trying to make sugar calorie free. So then they're like, okay, we'll fix this. Like, it's just one problem trying to be fixed over another. It's just really...
It's like free energy,
really
people.
bad.
You can't do it, all right? You can't get sweet stuff for free. It just doesn't work like that.
But, like, that's something, too, with my Whole30 that I did was kind of cool because once you stop eating these processed sugars that are so super sweet and you start eating, like, normal food and stuff, you realize how sweet sweet potatoes are. Or how sweet like fruit is, and you're like, wow, that's really sweet. That was something that, and then when you go back, then you're like, that I don't know. I recommend it for anyone that wants to try it. Like it's really cool to do for a month or whatever. Eliminate everything completely, and then bring stuff back in and see what like jacks you up. Because like you'd be surprised. Even now, like I started off this year kind of just making healthier choices, and I'm finding myself kind of like the bad choices are falling to the wayside because it's like they make me feel so crappy.
Yeah.
So,
and that was every time I come off my diet, if I'm strict on it for a couple weeks and then come off it, like carbs just make me feel awful. Like just terrible.
That's something else too with the with the health industry in general, and I'll talk about this, is you remember, did you ever hear about the Michelle Obama Let's Move campaign?
Was that
Did you ever hear about that?
Is that where they ruined the school lunches?
Oh my gosh, probably. No, okay, so what happened basically is the health industry and everything, it gets so confusing now. People are so confused. So they're thinking, okay, like fat is bad still. Well, they think sugar's bad still now too, it's fine. But they're thinking, okay, well, we just need to exercise. We just need to exercise. So like the Michelle Obama Let's Move campaign came out, and she had good intentions. I feel like most of these things, they have good intentions, but
Yeah.
money and power. But she comes out and she's like, we need to be eating more vegetables, trying to fight childhood obesity. And then what happens is she gets bought out by these companies, by like Coca-Cola, like all these people kind of take over the government, right? And then we're going to change it. We just need to go for a run every day. We just need to go exercise. And she kind of like she still mentions the food, but not nearly as much as she should be. And so like I feel like as a society now, like we're so hyper focused on exercise and stuff too, when it's like, no, like even I had a professor in college that ate healthy and went for a short walk every day and lost like hundreds of pounds. Like you don't need to be working out to the excess that we are. That's just gonna give everyone heart attacks too. Like,
so,
oh my gosh.
I have changed opinions on this. I think
Oh?
probably about a couple years ago, I was going to the gym every day, running for like an hour, right?
Oh my goodness.
I'm like,
I remember
that's the answer, people. You just gotta exercise, you know.
Eat whatever you want.
And it's just because
I mean, you'll lose the weight. But you're gonna feel like crap.
like eating what I wanted, and some days it was hard to run based on what I was eating. It was over the course of a year I maybe lost 15 pounds at most. But then when I did just focused on the diet instead, I didn't even exercise when I did it for the first 2 weeks at all, and I lost 10 pounds. So diet is much more important and much easier to do. And it's hard to break people away from.
Yes. Well, everything's been pushed on them. That's why it is such a really deep-seated, terrible like industry. It's crazy. Like, and people that come up dead, like things are slandered all the time because people try and talk out about it, and it just money buys out. Politicians. It's terrible. It's not.
And it's sucked. Like you walk through the grocery store and there's so much stuff that's like,
oh my gosh,
I really want that. That looks so good.
I know, I think you've probably seen or read studies on it being compared to a drug, right? To coke.
Yeah, I had it in the
cocaine
article,
and stuff. Well, that sugar is so addictive, and it triggers the same chemicals in the brain, whatever. I mean, how are people supposed to make healthy choices when they've been eating this stuff for so long? And
they
then,
don't want you to.
I mean, come on, they have got us good. So that stuff's just crazy. I mean, and it's also it's a $1 billion industry. I mean, even if, and now it's got the government's in on it, right, on everything. And I mean, how do you break that chain?
It could go really deep. They got to do this. They got to keep the companies going, and they could justify it in their head by saying, "Hey, if we switched all healthy, Doritos and Fritos, and they're all going to go out of business, and that will collapse the economy. We can't have that."
Exactly.
So they keep doing that, and I mean, we could get real deep on this. What if they're also in cahoots with the healthcare industry, keeping us sick,
Oh my gosh, yeah. I mean, I could go so deep on that because it's so true. There's no money in healthy people. There just isn't. Nope. You can make so much money on selling them the bad food and then curing and giving them pharmaceutical stuff to fix it. I mean, God, it's terrible. But we'll keep it going so we won't get too. Cause I'm sure we could talk forever about this. Another thing that I had that is kind of crazy, and you probably see it since we're talking about stuff in the stores, is the greenwashing now. I don't know if you've heard about that, but that's where they can slap the word organic on anything.
Yeah.
Or slap 100% juice on anything. And now, I mean, you're talking about confusing so many people. So many people are so confused with what they're eating, like if it's good, and they're basing it off of what they hear and what they read, and on these like, news sources or whatever, popular TV commercials. But that's crazy. We can talk about GMO foods too if you want. That's another huge topic of mine.
So
in terms of like conspiracy.
We'll transition to that next, I think. I was gonna encourage people to look on the back of, look on a nutrition label, look for added sugar, look for, I don't know what the bad fat's called anymore, but look for that, even on the things that say organic, even on the things that look like they're healthy, because
oh my gosh, yes,
it's not always the case.
Well, even like keeping it as simple as like Whole Foods. I mean, keep it like truly like buy a bag of carrots, okay? Like as long as
can't go wrong with that, yeah.
Yeah, like let's not worry too much about organic yet, because that's like always the first step, right? Is just make a healthy choice. Okay, then we'll get to the GMO and stuff later. Like at least you're eating some carrots, like, and don't worry about like, oh, carrots have too much sugar in them or whatever. That's another thing people are confused about is glycemic index. Is like you pair those carrots with something else. It might spike your sugar, right? But if you're eating kale with it, it's going to lower it at the same time. Like you don't just eat like a whole entire bag of carrots. Like like eat like, like a salad or something with them in it. But I'm just saying that you cannot go wrong with Whole Foods. Okay? If it's in a package, chances are it's got fructose in it to make it last longer, to make it taste better. Like,
and I think maybe back in the day they had good intentions of just.
I know, right?
And the big driving force behind like the corn syrup and the sugar and stuff was
all these things.
It was just they're like, yeah, we want to make them last longer. We want to grow more, but. Things backfired, but they can't change it. I want to encourage people, like, the best way to get through to these companies that we need healthier stuff is to stop buying their stuff.
Stop buying it, yeah.
That's the only thing you can do. Like, people are like, oh, we need the government to get involved and put regulations and all. No, it starts with you. That's it.
Yep.
Just don't.
Well, we all know that. I mean, work on a smaller scale. Make healthy choices for you. At the end of the day, no one can tell you what to eat, okay? No one can tell you what to be putting in your mouth, and there's things that you can look up to get, cheaper options or whatever. Yeah. But yeah, that is so important.
Don't be tricked by the cool colors.
No, I know. It's terrible. Gosh, I feel like I know this doesn't feel very conspiracy theory, but it feels like more of like a nutrition podcast. But like honestly, like this is the biggest conspiracy I've ever known.
It's just we're so used to it. Like it's not
hidden and it's in plain sight. Like just like no one knows. Like it's fine, and we'll just keep pushing these researchers, these studies under the rug. Like it's fine. It's fine. Oh, cancer. Oh, we'll just come up with a solution for that instead of looking at the things that might be causing it. Oh gosh, I just I can't.
One other thing before we move to GMOs or whatever, I feel like fat has gotten a bad rap, and I did like a real quick looked up a study on, because I'm curious, why does, when I first started like the keto based diet, it was like, this makes no sense. And like the first 3 days when I'm eating this stuff, I'm like, this cannot be good for me. And then the pounds started just falling off. So I was like, okay, maybe there is something to it. But fat has gotten a bad rap recently. Mm-hmm. And I just wanted to set the record straight for good fats, of course.
Yes.
This is just a couple stats on a study. One of the things doctors had said, we've only studied this diet in the short term, but never in the long term. But this one was a 24-week study to see the effects of it. Mm-hmm. And I was just going to run through like what happened. Basically, like they lost weight, pretty significant. All right. Total cholesterol went down significantly. Now, we might talk about this later, but cholesterol has gotten a bad label too.
Oh, I know.
But now
cholesterol fights bad cholesterol.
Right, there's good and bad cholesterol. So
yes.
In this diet, we saw increased HDL, which is the good cholesterol, which actually will clear out your arteries of
Yep.
bad cholesterol. So that's good stuff. And LDL, the bad stuff, went down. Triglycerides, which are more of the stuff that sticks to your arteries, that went way down. And blood sugar level went way down. Like, I didn't see any, there's no negatives on this. So I just want to say fat is not bad. It's good, but as long as it's coming from natural
it's good
stuff.
Fat. So I mean, even like eggs get a bad rep, right? Because it's bad
They got
cholesterol,
trashed.
whatever. No, eat the whole egg, okay? And eat from a good, like, get it from a good source, okay? Because eggs are great for you. They're a great source of fat. They're a great source of protein. They're great, but like, they get a bad rep, and like because it's fat and cholesterol and all this stuff, it's like, okay, maybe if you're buying some crappy egg or you're having an egg McMuffin, okay,
Yeah.
but like, get a good organic egg, it could do wonders. So
'Cause, eggs got, raked over the coals the past few years. Just saying, like, it'll give you a heart attack, but
yes,
it's not.
well, now even as a whole another kind of conspiracy thing on that too is they're not supporting research on good fats either, right? Because they're not. It's just a mess. But like coconut oil, and you'll have to look into this. Coconut oil is said to like clean your arteries out, like be really good, help you burn fat, like really good for you. Okay, but they've got all these studies. They're like, no, it's saturated fat, like it gives you heart attack, blah blah blah. And I'm still kind of looking into this, but from everything I've listened to, like documentaries, books, podcasts have been like, no, like consume coconut oil, like it's good for you, it's good for your skin, like it's so good. And I think even like I think they had it published on like the Mayo Clinic or the American Heart Association, like it's very like they're like, no, don't. But it's like, who do I believe? Like it's so confusing, and I feel so bad for like everyone and anyone who's trying to be healthy, and it's just like,
And
I guess that's where you know your body and you do. I don't know.
At the Mayo Clinic, I'm very surprised today. I was talking to Bobby. I'm like, they came out with margarine not too long ago, right? And it is straight up banned by the FDA now, right? They're supposed to be taking it off the shelves.
Oh, don't even get me started with
And
that.
Bobby's like, yeah, I know. He's like, it's got like oil-based products in it and plastic or something like that. And I'm like, really? And he's like, yeah, let's look it up real quick. He pulls it up. He types in margarine, and it pulls up Mayo Clinic, and it still says you should choose margarine over butter.
No.
So I used to trust them too. I don't know what the heck is
Who
going
do we
on.
believe? Speaking of trust too, FDA. Oh my gosh. Don't even get me started on the FDA and that, like, you think that they're looking out for us. They fully support the dairy and the sugar industry.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So
I don't know.
One final thought on, and this is back to the conspiracy side of things, that I could be wrong, but I believe, eggs, dairy, butter, and all the fat things are harder to produce in mass versus other things. So one of the rumors I heard was like the reason they poo-pooed eggs and cheese, a couple of years ago was because there was a shortage in the industry, right? So they did that as a way to lessen the demand on those products. And then now they're coming back around saying, oh, it's okay. So, and Bobby seemed to be all on board with this, that like the government is doing everything it can to keep, money flowing.
Oh yeah.
And they don't, that's all they care about. They don't care about health. They really don't. But yeah.
Even these companies don't. I mean, there's been, oh gosh, I watched some documentaries, probably Food Matters or something, and they were talking about a company, was it Monsanto maybe, that produced this hormone milk, some bad milk, something, and they were like, hey, no one drink this that works here. Like, drink other milk. Like, we know that it's bad. Like, don't consume it. I'm sure there's other companies that have done stuff like that.
Oh, yeah.
What is it? The astronauts with aspartame won't let them drink Diet Coke or something.
Damn.
Have you heard that?
Uh-uh.
Or what's it? Not astronaut. I think it's pilots, like to fly planes and stuff. They're like, don't want them to drink Diet Coke because they know it has neuro damage, like causes neuro. Like, what? Like, we're drinking this every day. You're promoting this?
I don't remember the companies, but I did come across a few that like nobody that worked there ate any of the stuff that came out of there. So
Oh, they probably saw how it was made.
yeah, that's not a good sign.
Speaking of how things are made, let's talk about GMOs because
All right.
I feel like I'm still learning a lot about them. I watched one of my first documentaries. What was it? Food Inc. Or what was the one that was talking about? I think it was Food Inc. was like GMOs are bad, like all this stuff, and I was like,
I think so. Yeah.
I don't know enough about it, so I'm still learning. But that kind of like turned me off to it, or started making me look into it.
Yeah.
Okay, so obviously, they're bad because they're kind of messing with the DNA of the fruit, vegetable, or now animal, and they cause disease, allergies. Something that I thought was really interesting is I think it has good intention, right?
Of course.
It has good intention because it could solve a lot of problems and be great for the agricultural industry. And same with milk and dairy and sugar and stuff. Like, they have good intentions, I think. But what happens is I don't think the scientists and stuff know enough about it yet to be doing what they're doing, because they're essentially taking DNA from one, putting it in another, but they don't really have, and I might be wrong on this, but from what I've read is that they don't have control over where it ends up on the strand.
Yeah, that's what I read.
So then you're getting all these problems associated with this because it's just not good enough yet. But it's being pushed out to the masses, and it's just like, I don't know if we should be eating this stuff, right? Stuff that is resisting pesticides, resisting it. I even read something that was like, it affects us on a DNA level, which I'm like, wait, what?
Yeah, I heard that.
So, like, you can create eat a GMO soybean or something, right? Find out you have a soy allergy, but you wouldn't know because it's deep in your DNA or some crap. And then you find out 10 years later and you break out and die or something. And I'm like, what? Like, it's just something, and this is me on a religious level, that I don't think we should mess with.
Yeah.
But again, like, let's not play God, but like, I get it, like, good intentions. If you took out human error from this, I think it could be really great, but
that's I think they had to make a decision, right? The benefits in their mind outweigh the cost. Like, we've got fruit and vegetables and stuff that are almost double in size of what they would be without messing around with it. But the problem is there's so many, they don't understand it, and you have to wait so long to see.
Yeah, we don't know the effects
they're not
of
going
this
to
yet.
sit and wait for it, right?
No.
And you can prevent, we'll say, starvation. They'll just jump on it, right? They're just we'll deal with the other stuff as it comes up. But
even the more, think of us on a consumer level, even the most, I would say, bougie things is that they're creating seedless fruits, which is that even a fruit at that point? But they're creating these seedless fruits, and it's just like, yes, like, make more money. Like, who cares what the, repercussions of this are? We can make watermelon without seeds. People will love that. Like,
now that's
it's crazy. And I actually looked into that. It's really interesting on like a scientific level. Like, I was actually really impressed. Like, I was just like, nice. Like, they kind of like cut a plant and then fuse it with another plant. They can have trees that grow multiple fruits. And I'm like, this is crazy, but at the same time, I'm like, you are not God. Like, what is happening? But that kind of just freaks me out too, because it's like long term. We don't know what this is doing, but we're pushing it out, and now we don't even know what is and what isn't. Can we trust organic labels? Can we oh gosh, it's just a hot mess. So
that's one of I'm okay with them. I mean, I prefer they did more research, but I'm more okay with them modifying food to be larger and to grow better and resist bugs than I am for the ones where they modify it to not have seeds so that you can't plant it yourself, right? It's for money.
Yeah,
that pisses me off.
That's my own little conspiracy there, is like, I was telling John about this too, and he was like, I don't know. But what if we get to a point as a world where we can't plant anything? I mean, think about it. Like, you've got these seeds that are genetically modified that you have to plant every year. Even the seeds that you would go buy in the store. Say there was an apocalypse, okay? And we're like, "Oh God, go get all the seeds from the store so we can start a garden." No, they would all die. You'd have to get more seeds. Like it doesn't. We have. I just.
That's such a
That's
dangerous
so
thing to do.
scary.
Because
Yes.
if eventually you might lose track of, like, oh crap, where did we plant the real ones?
No.
Jim, do you remember? Uh-oh.
Oh gosh, that would be terrible. And you'd have to wait so many months to find out.
Yeah.
A good season.
Ugh.
Hilarious. Yeah, a good obviously there's so many documentaries to watch on this, but a really good one for GMOs is the Food Matters one on Netflix. I've burnt through all the documentaries on Netflix and abroad. But Food Matters is really good because it just kind of talks about the disease, cancer causing things that come along with it, and yeah, that we don't know enough about it to be pushing it like we do. So
I would be curious to research if there was a correlation between when we started modifying food and the number of cancer cases.
yeah.
Just curious. I wonder if people are too afraid to look, you know. 'Cause, I mean, what happens if it's true though? Like so much of our, like everything, at least on a plant side, is genetically modified. Luckily, they haven't. I read somewhere they tried with animals a few times and they were getting
my gosh.
huge birth defects and crap.
Oh
so
my gosh, yes! You probably read the same thing as me. They were like being born without body parts and like specific like organs, and I'm like, oh my god, like stop, people, stop.
So, and maybe
And there's
we
there's
probably weren't supposed to
countries-
mess with that.
No, but there are countries that ban it. That ban GMO
That's good.
foods. I don't know if we ever got a vote on that, but there's a lot of countries that won't allow that. There's a lot of countries too that don't like sugars and dairies, and like the way that we regulate things is very different from a lot of countries too.
Yeah.
Good and bad. But, speaking about GMOs though, and disease and cancer and stuff, and also holistic nutrition, do you want to talk about that stuff?
Yeah, sure.
Going to that. Again, I mean, if you do your research and look into things, you can see that a lot of these sugars, dairies, things. Oh, it's not even. I won't even say like dairies and milk because that's not fair to them. I won't hate on them, but it's kind of like if you're allergic to it, you're causing inflammation. That could be a problem, and you might not even know about that. But like sugars and stuff, GMO foods, whatever, it's causing diseases, cancer. There's been studies. I mean, we're talking like there's proof out there that it's not good for us. But now we've got this huge booming industry, the medical and pharmaceutical industry, that's like, hey, like we'll come here and fix this, but we'll charge you a lot of money. And then you've got your cancer, and don't get me wrong, like I don't know too terribly much about cancer treatments and chemotherapy and stuff like that, but I mean, from what I've gathered, it's kind of like a concoction of pharmaceutical stuff kind of pumped into you to kill the cancer and kind of see if you survive. Am I wrong in saying that? I'm not sure if that's totally accurate of what chemo is.
That is what it is.
But yeah, it's like a pill concoction, right? And they just see what can kill off the cancer, and
It's just
your
they
body
just
survives
kill it off
and-
and hope that you don't die with it. That is
Yeah, yeah.
chemo.
right. So that's where I kind of get. Well, I kind of get mad about all this, really. Like, it's kind of like, oh, I'm being lied to. But I also get really mad because it's like, I feel like we can treat cancer and diseases and stuff holistically. And I didn't really start thinking about this as much until this year when I started listening to more health podcasts and kind of being like, oh, God, like superfoods, whole foods, like they have healing capabilities. Like, and I know that as like a human race, we're living longer and things are different now. But like they did use a lot of this stuff back in the day, even in like Egyptian times, to like heal people, take care of people, and use like food and oils and stuff like that. Like it makes sense. And so part of our like pharmaceutical stuff, I mean, I'm sure it's like based off of that, but it's like tampered with.
Oh, yeah.
Like the like refined sugar, it's the same thing. It's like messed with to get it down to its most pristine like state that they're trying to like, I don't know, John and I talk about this all the time about like trying to kill it, I don't know, with its most refined state or whatever, when it's like, no, you need the whole plant. Like the whole plant has a purpose. Like don't just extract one part of it and put it in a pill, It's like, yeah, that might fix your heart disease, but you're going to have all these other problems. So it's just, we were given food for a reason. I'd like to think this is like my Mother Earth nature talk. Like we were given this. I mean, we have so many awesome things growing on this earth that can heal us, and our bodies are so resilient and so like capable of getting rid of diseases that, but we don't let them because we never let them heal. Because we're just pumping them full of more stuff. It's such a shame. So with the medical and pharmaceutical industries, I can't help but feel like either one, we're being like massively lied to, right? Education, whatever is being funded to support that stuff, not nutritionalists. And even the nutritionalists don't know. It might be dated, right? They might think, okay, you can have butter. They don't specify. Like people just go to, the store and buy some butter, that margarine, whatever. I don't know. To buy something that isn't like at its wholest form. People aren't like understanding that. So even like on an educational level, I feel like it's just things are just jacked. But
yeah. Now we are seeing it make it somewhat of a comeback. Just the more natural remedies, but it's still got that stigma of quackery around it. That I'm sure the pharmaceutical industry has slapped on it. Even though there are, things that work.
Yes. I'll mention real quick, a podcast was, that I was listening to was talking about this lady that basically went to the dentist, okay? And the dentist was like, oh, you got to start of a cavity, and she went home and she fought it holistically with essential oils, salt, like all this like, stuff that you would use holistically, came back and it was gone. And the dentist was like, oh, my God, like, what did you do? Your gums are fantastic, like all these things. And she explained the process, and he looked at her like she was crazy. And he was like, no, like, you should just, take your fluoride, toothpaste, whatever. It's fine. Well, that too. Like, I was actually biting my tongue this week because I was like, all right, John, I actually just recently switched over to a natural toothpaste. And I was like, okay, John, like you're right. Like fluoride is good for your teeth. This is true. It is good for your teeth, but it is so bad for you on a different level, on a cellular level, and even on like a DNA level. It's so bad for your body. But yeah, it's good for your teeth. So that, don't get me started.
I think that's a lot of things to do. It's like, okay, we have this issue. Okay, this thing fixes that issue. Amazing. All right. And then you roll with it, and then somebody's like, guys, this might not be good for you. And then they get assassinated. That's just how we roll.
Exactly. It's terrible. It really is. Yeah, that's another thing, too, with people mysteriously coming up killed with cancer. With that being not a hoax, it's definitely not a hoax, but being possibly there's a cure for it, like
like
so
before,
did you ever hear, that stuff in Canada came out? You remember hearing about that?
Maybe I was gonna say, before we jumped off the deep end and into the conspiracy, we can go on like in the kiddie pool first, where I read a few places where there's simple solutions that can fight cancer, but the fact that nobody can put a patent on it, there's no money in it, so nobody pursues it. I was reading somewhere something as simple as aspirin has been shown to be effective in fighting cancer, but because it's so cheap and readily available, nobody's going to say that, right? They're searching to find a way that they can alter it a little bit so they
Oh
can
my
call
gosh,
it their
yes.
own and then make money off it. So instead of
Yeah, I think I read the same thing.
instead of a
That's
penny
great.
per pill, you're paying $100, $1,000
Yeah, because you
per
pay
pill.
for the research.
It's ridiculous.
Oh my gosh. Well, it's crazy to think, all the money that we put towards fighting cancer, the marches, but
Yeah.
how can we have raised so much money and still have no clue how to fix this problem? Like, that just doesn't make sense to me. Like, all the money being pumped into this cancer research, how do we fix this? And yet 10 hospitals are being built for chemo. Like, what?
I will tell you why, and I'm not going to name names of foundations,
Oh gosh, get assassinated.
but at least one in particular that I know of all the money they raised for an entire year, the amount that went to the cause that they were promoting was 6%.
Ah.
So,
Oh, that hurts my heart.
yeah.
Oh, that makes me so mad. Yeah, it's one of those.
Yeah.
I told John too that I'm like, okay, if I ever get cancer, which the odds are like 1 in 2 now, might I add, which is disturbing. I told him, I was just like, well, I might try and fight it holistically. And he was kind of like, and he's in the pharmaceuticals, so he's like, no, like, don't do that. Well, he doesn't totally like support chemotherapy because he kind of is like, I mean, it makes sense, like, it gets rid of one problem, but causes other problems. But I kind of would always think that I would treat it holistically first, or try to. But that's like, you got to get rid of all your products though, because everything causes cancer, right? Like,
Yeah.
like literally everything. Like, we make jokes about that, but no, for real. Like, even the stuff in our water, like, for real, like, you can't touch anything anymore.
Like all the a lot of foods, and even the chair I'm sitting in has a tag that
Some
says
carcinogen,
it
yeah.
says in the state of California, this object has been known to cause cancer. It's on everything I see. So
Yeah, I think I have a pair of headphones, wireless headphones that I wear at work that say that on the box.
yeah,
They say it as like a warning. It's probably made in whatever factory it's made of. It's really disturbing, and I'd like to think that it's just like cutting costs. It's power and money and
100%.
consumerism, and so it's just like the biggest conspiracy ever, and it's in plain sight.
Yep.
It's just awful.
So yeah, about Canada, I might have read
Yes.
what you're talking about, but fill us
Yeah,
in.
so basically, some Canadian scientists came up with like a cure for cancer or something, like a pill, or they did some research that showed that it went down in rats or something big. Okay, so they come to light with this, and typical world, they get slandered and shot down, whatever, and it kind of got pushed under the rug. This actually happened, I think, like last year or maybe the year before, and I haven't heard anything about it since. Like, it has just been bought out, gone. Like, I haven't heard anything, but I'll have to look back into it. But basically, they were saying that the Canadians, woohoo, came up with a cure for cancer. And so I'm like, well, even if we did, right? No, they don't want that. They don't want that
course not.
because all the even on a smaller scale, think about all the jobs that all the people have in these hospitals
Yep.
for cancer. I mean, it would destroy the economy, right? If we get rid of all these hospitals that we just built to help cure cancer and fight cancer and all this stuff. So, I mean, you've seen the movie V for Vendetta, right?
Mhm.
Same thing. I mean,
Yeah.
create a problem, possibly. Well, that's a whole nother thing. I mean, well, they are creating problems. They're knowingly putting things in things and not caring, or on purpose. Do. And then I don't know.
I wonder if it comes down to laziness on just maybe the government in general, right? We've got all these things set in place. The economy's running fine, right? But they're if something threatens to change that, instead of saying, okay, we've now got the cure, what are we going to do with these people's jobs? Where do we put them, right? Instead of doing that, they take the easy road and just be like, no, that's not true. That guy made that up. Cancer's still bad. There, we saved the economy. But
we don't want to rock the boat when there's so many people in it.
They're too afraid to rock the boat. But what if they did? What if we fixed all these issues that we're having, right? we could take all those resources and put them towards something else, right?
Oh my gosh, I
Like,
know.
I don't know. I think we would be way more advanced, like insanely more advanced than we are now, if we
Oh, yeah.
used all our resources appropriately.
Yep.
But
Yeah.
we don't.
We'd
and we never
actually
will.
be, I mean, we really would be so smart and so advanced if we ate the right foods and were able to focus, like stop taking or having fluoride, things that cloud our judgment, things that hurt our body, disease and all this stuff. We'd live longer. Oh, that's a whole nother thing, population control, perhaps. We'd live longer. We'd be able to travel further in space. Like, we could take all of that energy and technology if we just like take care of ourselves and then like put all that money and stuff towards something else that's way cooler that can advance us, or even like super advance the whole food industry in a way that's good. Like, we are smart enough. Like, I know that we are. Like, if we're splitting DNA, like, surely we can figure out a good way to grow some fruits and vegetables to feed our community. Like, it just baffles me that it's just like money, money, money.
It's all about money, and it's all about the rich people wanting to keep their money.
Yep.
I was going somewhere with this. Where was I going with this? It was a good rant. It was good in my head.
Oh,
But it's just, the way we're trained now is you go work your 9-to-5 job to get money to come home and buy cool stuff and watch TV and eat junk food.
consumerism, man.
That's all it is. There's
Yep.
nobody. It's
No
so
stuff.
hard to come by somebody that's pursuing something. And those ones that do, like, they get discouraged. Like, maybe this guy discovered the cure for cancer, and then he gets shut down immediately. Like, there's no why even
Oh,
bother.
yeah.
So
Well,
this
even-
is good for the government. That's what they want. They want us to be subdued and distracted
Yeah, absolutely.
instead
Well, that's
of
what I
making
was.
progress.
I was telling John too, with all this stuff with the GMO, with the seeds, with the bad food, all these things. Okay, now we're starting to wake up, right, to fake news and question things and be more holistic. And we're like, wait a minute. Well, maybe it's too late. I don't want to be like the Debbie Downer here, but it's just like we have let our food be in control for so long. Like, that's disturbing. And I've actually heard or read things that have said that they're trying to like take away like personal farms and take control. And they've already taken control of a lot of farms and how they run things, keeping chickens like in dark spaces, pumping hormone, like stuff like that. But like, how do we move past this if we're already so controlled? It's just pretty crazy.
You got to fight for it. You got to take the power back. But to get there, us as humans, just the regular folks, we all have to get on the same page. All right, we need to stop.
right.
We need to stop fighting over, who's got the best diet, what works. Oh, you're an idiot. I listen to this person, and this person says
know.
this, and
Right?
that person is not an authority on the subject, right?
Oh my gosh, yeah.
And you
Go
can't
try
and
some
you can't,
food.
Yeah, you can't even, you can't just go to the internet either, because it's all.
Oh,
And like, and it's been this way for a while. You can look on and be like, okay, benefits of eating eggs, or eggs are the best. You'll get a bunch of articles for that. And then you say eggs are the worst, and you'll get a bunch of articles for that. So, what the heck do you do, right?
yeah. You just gotta do the research.
You have to
gotta look
educate
at both
yourself.
sides, and you have to educate yourselves. You have to look at both sides, and you have to test it out on yourself for yourself and see how you feel. And try eating some eggs for a month. Go back to the doctor, see what they say about your cholesterol. Like, I don't know. There's got to be some way. And then tell your friends and tell your friends' friends. Like, there's got to be some way to do this so that.
It's just everybody have an open mind and do your own research
Yes, for sure.
on both sides of every issue.
No one-sided.
And this
And
goes
don't-
for everything, not just health and food.
Oh yeah, that's very true. Even with me with conspiracies, right? Like I love conspiracies, but I'll check out both sides. I
Yeah.
mean, you got to check out both sides. Like, come on. Like, look at all the facts you have and make your own decisions. Um, don't just do things because you're being told to do things either. So, I don't know. It's something I am so very passionate about. I'm trying to educate myself more this year as like a goal, to just kind of look at what's in my stuff, look at what's in my products, look at what's in my food, and just
Yeah.
kind of like, can I pronounce that? Like, is that something I should be eating? Like, look it up. How
You
is
look
this
on
made?
the
Where did
you
it
look
come
on the
from?
back of a carrot, and it's just
Yeah,
it's just a
exactly.
carrot.
It's just
So
a
there you
carrot,
go, yeah.
son. Like, just eat the carrot. That's something too. Like, beautiful, wide range of fruits and vegetables. Like, you feel good. They're beautiful. They like you can eat them just as they are. And I don't.
I think a
I
really
just don't.
a really good start if you don't want to do any crazy diet. Don't buy anything in a package. That's a very good
no
start.
processed food. Don't go to the middle section of the store. That's what they always say, right? So just stay in the produce section. Okay, don't like overwhelm yourself. Don't worry about GMOs yet or like any of that stuff.
Yeah.
And you should, like don't eat a bunch of bananas. Try and get like a wide range,
Yeah.
colorful fruits and vegetables. Like it's gonna be so much better for you than any like oh my gosh, than Diet Coke or any like trust me, just do it for someone like I mean well you and I both I mean we've and we know people too that we bounce around with what's good, what's bad, how to lose weight, how to gain muscle, like what I should like I feel like you and I are to that level where we've kind of like trial and errored a lot of things.
Yeah.
Me especially with like Whole30 and like dietary programs and like massive workout like challenges and all this stuff, and it's just kind of like maybe you just need to live like a healthy life and stop eating the stuff that they're pushing on you because maybe it's all a lie and start picking things that maybe you educate yourself on and think that would be good for your body. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously, I mean, it
So,
just drives me
yeah.
nuts.
Just I would say, get a basic understanding of how things work, and then look at some ideas that people have, right? And some you'll be able to right away just be like, no, that's not going to work based on what I've seen, Find ones that like, that sounds about right. Sounds like it would work. Try it and see what happens, right? Just don't
Yep.
dive into the first thing you see. It should at least make a little bit of sense in your head.
Right on.
And I think what we can do, one of the things I see a lot of, and it's a running joke, vegans will tell you immediately first time they meet you what
Oh my gosh.
what about their diet, right?
Vegans.
Or there's a joke that's like a vegan and a CrossFitter walk into a room.
Oh,
Which one talks about
yes.
the thing first? So I think
Oh.
what we can do, and I've learned this, if I just sit and try and talk to someone about the cool diet I'm doing now or something, right? They just shut down. They're just like, I don't care.
Exactly.
I don't want to hear it. Just when it comes to me with that, like, if that's what they open with, right? It's just like, oh, I don't care. Nobody cares. But if somebody, you gotta just
live it and people see it.
Yeah, right.
And then they'll
so,
be like, man, what are you doing, man?
Yeah.
And you're just like, man, I'm just eating tons of broccoli.
wait till
and
they
then they're
come
gonna
to
be
you.
like,
Yeah. It will make a huge difference. Like I don't tell anyone about mine, but if they say, "Hey, it looks like you lost weight or you look like you're in shape."
Feeling
What
good,
do you
having
do,
energy,
right?
excelling, yeah.
What are you doing? Then you say, "Well, this is what I tried. It worked for me.
Then
Give it a shot."
resource.
Yeah,
exactly.
I think that's what we can do instead of trying
know,
to
we
shove it
have
down
these-
people's throats.
I know we have all these food groups now. It's terrible. They're just like, this is the best. You suck.
Yeah, and that's not, don't treat it like a freaking sports team. Just different things work. I think that's one thing you got to remember, right?
And not to hate on like vegans or vegetarians either, because there are people that they're even sports professionals that excel,
Tom Brady.
on that diet because it's good for them. And maybe they have like a gluten intolerance or, a dairy intolerance and it's doing great for them. So I'm not like totally hating on, on them either.
Oh no, it's a
like just try what's good for your body. Like You never know.
Yeah, I don't want to offend any vegans. It's just the ones I meet tend to talk too much about how they're vegan. But the diet itself does seem to be doing a lot of good. So it's not the one for me. I'm not going to hate on it. But, and even if, like, someone comes to me and says, you know, hey, what do you do? And I tell them, and like, oh, okay, I was thinking about trying this vegan diet. I'd be like, okay, yeah, do it. You know,
Yeah.
I've seen that it works as well, right? I'm not going to be like, no, team keto, yeah. You know, I'm not
Oh
going to
my
do that.
gosh. But even like any kind of diet, like just try it and see. I've had people like count their calories. I've seen people do all sorts of like point systems or what. Like, I mean, do whatever,
Do what
right?
works
And if
for
it
you.
fails or succeeds, yeah, see for yourself. And I mean, try and eat as like simple as possible in whole
Yeah.
foods. Okay, and you're gonna fight off these diseases and stuff. You're not, you know, like there's so many great, like really look into it. I actually have a list of documentaries here, which you guys have probably watched. I don't know if you have or not, but they're all on Netflix. They should be still. I recommend everyone goes and watches them. They're super fun and really informative. So it's Forks Over Knives, Fat, Sick, and Nearly Dead, Hungry for Change, Food Matters, my favorite, Super Size Me. Love that one. It's so great. It'll make you hate McDonald's for at least a week.
Yeah.
And then obviously the Ultimate Health Podcast, which I listen to on iTunes or Spotify or whatever. I've learned so much from them. They're great podcasts to listen to. But yeah, go out and do some research because you being lied to, son.
Yep.
Being lied to. Please, government, don't come get me for saying these things. Like,
You better watch your
like,
back, government.
I'm like
We're coming for
officially
you.
on the internet now as like hating on the sugar industry. Ah.
It's okay. We only gave your first name. You're safe.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
I think my last name's out there, though. Oh, but then they could probably put two and two together that you said you're my sister.
Oh
So,
no.
yep. So if this podcast ever stops, the government got us. So,
Yep. Great. That's why I always
Watch
tell
out.
John because I'm into so many conspiracies, so many that I'm just like, if I ever come up missing, it's the government. Like I've been looking at, I'm too deep in the internet. Like I know I've seen too many things.
she's seen too
So.
much.
Oh my gosh. Well, that's kind of all I have to talk about. Thanks for having me talk. I hope that this wasn't too like informative and scary. I feel like this was a very like health podcast, which I mean, hey man, like everyone be healthy. It's good for you, but like sorry if you were expecting crazier conspiracies. That's obvious.
Well, normally the super crazy ones can't fill an entire podcast. But yeah, thanks for coming on. We'll definitely have you on again.
Oh my gosh, yes. I would love to talk. Was it Illuminati, 9/11? You know, the big ones.
Oh, we
are-
got those
oh.
coming up. So,
Those are great.
and then
All right.
yeah, listeners, if you want, you can make the priority list for me. If you just send me an email like, do 9/11 next, we need it, right? Because I don't the week of like I'm like, okay, what do I want to do this week? So we're not planning out. So if you got something you want to hear, just send us an email. Talk to us on Twitter, on a Facebook page, anything. So.
Goat Man version 2, like extended Goat Man.
Oh yeah, me and Dylan are supposed to make a trip up there.
Oh no, that's crazy.
We got to get Instagram up though, so we can get the video there.
Don't go on the ledge. What is it? Don't go up on the. Oh gosh, be careful.
Carrie already said I'm not allowed to go climb up on the bridge.
Good, yeah, no.
And I was like,
don't.
I know, I'm not stupid. I know the goat man's up there. I get it. But yeah.
Well, anyways, yeah, thanks so much. Great talking with you guys. Hope you learned something. Didn't get too freaked out. Do your research, everyone, and eat whole foods.
All right, guys. We'll catch you all later.
Adios.
Okay.